Toto, we are in Kansas this week. That's right. It's a Kansas Speedway for the AdventHealth 400. As always, we'll be here to break down our favorite DFS and bets for this 1.5-mile track in the Midwest. Hang with us as we travel down the back road.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Check your flag. That's all this race is.
What's up, everyone? Happy Thursday night, and welcome to the Back Road. It's in between media's NASCAR betting and fantasy and DFS NASCAR show. My name is Elliot Hicks. We've got Seth Woolcock and Rod Villagomez here tonight. Boys, it's going to be a fun one, as yes, indeed, Rod, we do head to Kansas. And, hey, we always appreciate having you on the show here. We'll try not to give you any flack this week.
Listen, my thin skin can't take much more of it. I won't go into details, but I will say that I am happy to be with you guys amongst friends talking NASCAR, because that is the way it goes. And yeah, Kansas, baby, the land, very flat land. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Kansas, but there is really, you could drive down the stretch of highway and see nothing for about 1.5 to 2 hours. So yeah, these guys, at least they get a view, right, of the grandstands and everything when they're driving.
Yeah, flyover state, man. That's what they call it. And I don't know why, but I always had Kansas Motor Speedway as one of those tracks on my bucket list. So excited to be here chopping it up with you. And I don't know about you, Elliot, but any Monday, any week after you're at the racetrack for 3 days, seeing some awesome fucking racing, it's always hard to kind of get back into gear. But here we are back on the back road. It's Thursday, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, it's almost, I've gotten the feeling this week after we were at Dover. I don't know if any of our viewing audience goes to festivals, but they have something, called like a post-festival depression, which, some of that can come from other things people do at music festivals. But, I've kind of gotten that feeling this week. Like, man, we were just at the track and now we got to gear up to sit on my couch or sit in my office again and watch it. But hey, it's still going to be a fun one at Kansas. Definitely one I want to make it to someday as well. Before we get there, we'll break down and react to Dover racing. We'll go over our best bets for the week at Kansas, do our DFS rankings, and stick around at the end. We're going to do a little giveaway, the first of our 3 giveaways that we posted on Twitter about a week or so ago. We're going to give away a Bayley Currey autographed Cale Yarborough throwback truck diecast. So stick around for that as we wrap up the show.
All right, yeah, let's do it, man. I'm excited for that. And we were trying to do it at the end of the Dover weekend, and like shit kind of just, by the end of it, I was like, I'm kind of beat, kind of forgot about it. After you see 3 days of good racing, you're like, kind of slip your mind. So apologies on that, folks. But yeah, we'll definitely do that giveaway. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Just type in subbed if you haven't already into the comments, and we'll give some stuff away here at the end. What do you say, Elliot? Should we look back at that Dover race?
Yeah, for sure, Seth. Let's take a look back in the rear view. So we started out the Dover race weekend with some ARCA, and the talk of the garage at COTA, Connor Zilic gets his first ARCA win late in the race to take the ARCA victory. Ryan Truex, he leads the one that counts, ends up coming back from mid-pack in a pretty wild Xfinity race to get a victory. And Denny Hamlin, as you put it so eloquently here, Seth, he drives off into the Delaware sunset, a winner, taking the lead. Kyle Larson almost got there, but the 11 car ends up in victory lane once again. If you're a fan of coincidences, you believe in coincidences, bet Denny Hamlin at Pocono, because we've covered 2 races at IBT, both won by the number 11 Mavis tire car for Denny Hamlin.
Should have fucking known. And, he was like in my extras list last week, like of guys I think I want to bet after practice and qualifying. Bet Rivers was sponsoring the race, Rod, but you can't even use the actual Bet Rivers app in Delaware. It made no fucking sense. I was like, what's even going on out here? So unfortunately, we weren't able to get on Denny Hamlin, but still some nice cashes for us here on the back road. What about yourself, Rod?
Yeah, so I mean, this race was a lot of chalk, and honestly, I think we did much better in the Xfinity series than we did in the actual Cup series. There was a lot to go on. And listen, let's give a shout out to Quapple, man, Carson Quapple, who had himself a hell of a run in the ARC, almost won that damn race. I should have won that race. Turned around and then did a hell of a job in Xfinity. cash in some major tickets for us in that one as well. I know Cody hit a nice, I think it was 25-1 on Noah Gragson to be the top Ford in this race.
Wow.
As well. So yeah, we had a pretty good day, I'd say.
Awesome. Yeah, I was kind of same thing, like Xfinity series. We had the Truex outright. Also had a Quapple top 5, so those did pretty well. Had Allmendinger in a couple different matchups. Love to see that. We both, I know Elliot, you were on also Cameron over Allgaier as well. So had a bunch of different plays that hit in the Xfinity series. Not as great on the Cup series last week for me, at least. Busher let me down pretty big. I had a nice top 10 bet on Barry. He let me down. Hit the Chase top 5. Hit the Truex top 5. Hamlin though cashes the over 2.5 season win total though, so that was nice to have another one of those in our back pocket cash. And Elliot, you were riding some big gainers this weekend, man. Tell us a little bit about those tickets you had.
Yeah, so the whole thing about Bet Rivers in Delaware, it's legal there. You have to go through a separate Bally Casino app. That's the casino that's off of the Dover racetrack. So, had we been able to get on that, I was pretty high on Gregson after watching qualifying. He made the final round there, but not being able to put in anything kind of hurt me. But before I left the state of Pennsylvania, I had the Quapple outright in a couple of different ways, whether it be a parlay or straight up. So that one, even though at the time I didn't remember if I had it straight or if I had it on a parlay with Bowman, which I had it both. So we ended up real close there. And then Caesars offered a parlay for the Truex brothers to sweep again. So Ryan Truex wins. So I end up essentially holding a 44-1 outright on Truex coming into Sunday, which, man, now it wouldn't have won me a hell of a lot because it was just a low sprinkle, but still exciting to go in with that big of a number hanging out there. And damn if he didn't have the fastest car early in the race, Seth.
Oh man, I was sweating it out with you. I thought Truex was going to do it. Back-to-back Truex boys sweeps. We didn't get it done, but still a great weekend nonetheless. Saw some really good racing. Got to meet up with one of our IBT family members in the chat here, Bob. Put a couple Jack and Cokes and a couple beers down with Bob. So always cool to link up with the IBT family in real life. Bob is just a bourbon drinking NASCAR betting son of a bitch. I love that guy. He's living life to the fullest. Bob, it's always it was great to connect with you. Looks like we got Alec in the chat saying, where are we at on Will Levis? Wrong program, Alec. Wrong program. That's our fantasy football program on Tuesdays.
If you want to hear about Will Levis, tune in Tuesdays at 9:30 for the IBT Fantasy Football Podcast.
Yeah, I would give him about 250-1 to win today. That's this weekend. That's what I would give him.
Yeah, I'd say probably about the same odds as Todd Gilliland down there on the board right now.
Or Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. Nick saying probably not eligible because I'm family, but subbed. Good to see y'all again. Nick, I add you in, man. You might be Rod's family. You're my family. You're my brother from another mother, but you're not actually my blood family. So you're entered it in, man. Hope you win that giveaway. Then we got Charles Nelson in the chat. What's up, Charles? Good to see you, man. Charles, let us know. Do you like Chuck? Like, how can we address you? Because Charles is very formal. And I like nicknames for people, as Elliot knows.
Yeah. Hey, I've heard people go by Charles before. There was a gentleman I worked with in college. And keep in mind, too, if you don't win tonight's giveaway, we were giving away 2 more Diecasts each of the next 2 shows. So if you don't win tonight, you are still entered into the other 2. So keep your eye out there.
Yes. We got Lana rocking with us saying subbed. Fucking Byron, man. Love him, but shit. Yeah.
Got caught up.
Tough race for Byron. He looked damn good early in that race. And after qualifying, Ellie, I turned to you and said, I think I need to go find a way to bet Byron.
Yeah, you did.
Thankfully, I didn't. Lana saying cheers, by the way. Always good to have the IBT family rocking with us. Rod, any other final thoughts from you from Dover? Anything we can take away as we move forward from that racing weekend?
I think the only thing that I can take away is that I am no longer allowed. Cody has now banned me from saying Jimmy Johnson in any capacity.
Yep.
So I'm done. Man, if there was one track that he could have actually did like a top 20, I wasn't asking him to get inside the top 10, just some good finish for DFS purposes. I figured it was this one. Yeah, not so much. So that 84 is, we're done. Right. And Cody checking in saying, I heard that, Rod. Yes, you did. Cody. Yes, you did.
Rod, it's funny because when we brought up Jimmy on the program last week without you, I turned to Ellie and I just said, not doing it. I know Rod would be disappointed, but I ended up picking Corey Heim over Jimmy in a lot of lineups last week. I told Ellie I was kind of sweating that one at the beginning. Made the right decision there, Elliot. 43 had a great day in Corey Heim. This kid's the real fucking deal.
Yeah, that really worked out. He'll be back in the car in the 43 at Kansas this week. And hey, Rod, at least the 48 for a hot minute there was one of the fastest cars at Dover. Arguably the four fastest cars. Yeah, arguably the four fastest were the 11, the 19, the 5, and the 48. And Seth, really, the whole race changed when we, after stage 2 or toward the end of stage 2, we went from the turn 1 media center, which is outside the track, had a really good view of everything, but then we wanted to get inside the track, watch the race from a couple of cool vantage points there. We ended up missing the pit stops where there was contact. We ended up missing the restart where guys had contact. So Truex and Bowman were not the same after that, left it to the 11 and 5 in the final stage. And of course, that's how it ended up with the 11 and the 5 finishing 1-2.
Yeah, we jinxed it a little bit. We weren't like Jeff Gluck, and we didn't have a golf cart waiting for us outside, ready to take us right in the infield. We did not have that treatment. So boogieing around a little mile track was definitely a little more of a challenge at times. But yeah, great weekend at Dover. But guys, we're not here to talk Dover anymore. It's time to go to fucking Kansas. Time to go to the good old Great Plains. Let's kick it off here in Horizon Forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So as we head to the Kansas Speedway this weekend, we go from a track at Dover where it was relatively hard to handicap, not a lot of really similar comp tracks, to arguably one of the easier tracks to comp in the entire series, one of those high-speed mile-and-a-half intermediates.
Yep, it's considered the sister track of Las Vegas, also mini Michigan. A little more higher tire wear we've been seeing as this track continues to age, but we can look at Las Vegas from earlier this year. Michigan's the other primary comp that I have, and then Charlotte, Homestead, and Texas. Although Texas, as we know, Texas fuckery, it happens. So kind of, weigh that a little bit different. Rod, any other tracks that you looked at this week other than those primary and secondary comps that I threw out?
No, really, it is just Texas. It is, like you said, the mini Michigan. But, the days of the cookie cutter mile and a halves now are pretty much gone. So
yeah,
every mile and a half that's left has kind of its own characteristics. So, each one is almost its own animal in and of its own right. So these Kansas races have shaped up a little differently than Las Vegas, than Texas, than, all these other ones that we used to compare them to.
Yeah, and Elliot, something we need to keep in mind as well as we head back to Kansas, yes, the books are not going to give us great odds, especially in some markets we like to attack, usually like the top 10 odds, but sometimes you got to bet chalky, and this might be one of those weeks, especially with all the data we have to go off of. And we are about, a quarter of the way into the season so far?
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the other things I'm looking at, is not just the high-speed mile and a halves, things like that. But we're far enough into the year now. We're 11 or 12 races in. That's a big enough sample size that you got to start factoring in how guys are running this year. Like I said in some of my notes, I've got guys who are just running bad this year, running well this year. It's enough of a sample size that you can take 2024 performance in general into account. What have you done for me lately is a phrase I've used before on this show. And in terms of the, real chalky, real juicy books this week, you got to dig around. You got to find some value. I know Caesars made it a lot harder this week to go and find some value, but Seth, I used that little trick you taught me, dug into the books a little more. There's some value. This is probably the most variety in bets that I have pre-practice qualifying for any race this year. And none of it is, almost none of it is positional props or anything like that. It's all just the weird random shit that I think there might be a little bit of value in.
It's Kentucky Derby week. It's time to get a little bit weird here. And as you mentioned, Caesars, get your fucking UI together. Come on. As Rod, you and Cody named it the Caesar Speakeasy, and that's kind of stuck with me because it's so hard to get into that damn thing. Now even the trucks, everything's in a speakeasy for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cody loved that. He was like, "Yeah, it's the speakeasy. You have to know about it. You got to knock a couple of times and say the secret password to get into it."
I just start fucking clicking, rage clicking, trying to get into it. But guys, let's look at the schedule here for Kansas. Saturday, 5:05 p.m. Eastern time, Cups practice and qualifying. 8 p.m. Eastern time, truck race. Heart of America, 250, baby. No Xfinity this week, Ellie, which is kind of a bummer because that's where I've been making most of my coin, kind of saving my weekend. But we'll be back here in a couple weeks for Xfinity.
Yeah, Xfinity really has been one of the better racing series this year, but hey, you can find value in the trucks too, not nearly as much.
Yep.
The trucks is a very juicy, chalky series to start with. You got your 4 or 5 favorites.
Yeah.
A couple of guys there, but there's value to be found everywhere. As long as you can get through the speakeasy.
Yes, we'll talk a little bit about trucks later. 3 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Then AdventHealth 400 stages: lap 80, lap 165, lap 267. Let's look at a couple of trends the last couple of Kansas races. There have been 2 races at Kansas per year since 2011. If you guys remember, before that, we'd always just come here once a year, and it was really only in the early 2000s we started coming here. Jeff Gordon, of course, my guy, won that first race way back when. Daniel Hemrick, fun Daniel Hemrick stat for you. Another one, has the second best all-time average starting position here at Kansas, 9.0. He only has raced here twice, but he got the pole in 2019. So keep that in mind. Daniel Hemrick, I've been throwing it out on DFS for 5 weeks now. He's been optimal 3 different times. So keep Danny Hem in the back pocket this week. Truex, 4th all-time in starting position in 31 races. That's like a big ass sample size compared to Daniel Hemrick. So some weight, if you want to get down on Truex, might be smart before practicing qualifying. Chris Bell, Logano, Truex all have 2 poles at Kansas. 10 active drivers have won this race. Denny Hamlin leads everyone with 4. Toyota's 4 for 4 in the next gen era. 3 of those has been won by Denny Hamlin's team, 23-11. No Cup Series driver has won their first career race at Kansas. Rod, I came into this week, I have him on the thumbnail because I was like, I kind of like Ty Gibbs this week a little bit. I was high on him at Kansas last season. He showed top 5 speed. Hasn't really been able to get it done as far as really pushing for a win outside of the Clash. Does this kind of temper your expectations a little bit for Ty here that no driver has won their first race at Kansas?
Well, there that, and then the whole body of work that he's given us so far this season. This has not been a great sophomore season for Ty Gibbs. Elliot was just talking about the fact that you could start looking at what have you done for me lately, and I get that the schedule's been varied. I know we've jumped from short track to road course to, super speedways and everything in between. So it's hard to get your footing at the same time. But I mean, Ty's not necessarily blow the doors off of us this year. And if there's a track that he can creep up and get it done, possibly. I mean, you pretty much just laid out every bullet point that I was going to make for any of my outrights anyway. So like Toyota's been one of the more dominating manufacturers on this track. So he's got a pretty good chance to do good, but can he do it is the question. He hasn't done it this year.
And if you guys are interested in investing in Tyler Reddick this weekend, something to keep in mind, we have had 4 drivers post consecutive victories here at Kansas. 3 times it was the fall winner who then won again the next spring. So keep that in mind. Plus 650, you can get him over boosted on Caesars. Looks like we got Derek in the chat. What's up, Derek? Good to see you, man. Derek had a great NASCAR betting preview show yesterday. Got to rewatch it today. Couldn't catch it live last night, but laughed a lot today. Katie came in. She's like, "What are you laughing about?" I said, "Mark's saying some ignorant stuff on this program, and it's just making me laugh." And so appreciate Derek and the boys last night. Last trend I'm going to throw out for you. Winners from the front row, 19.4% of the time they've come from the pole. That second place position, not as valuable here as in past tracks. 47% of the time coming from the top 5, the winner is, and then 66% of the time. So yes, track position does matter. The pole really matters a lot, but outside of that, like, you can shoot your shot. We have seen drivers come from the back of the field to win this race, so it's something to keep in mind. Elliot, any final trends or any notes before we jump in from you?
Yeah, a couple of things I have on Kansas. I don't have this stat in front of me, but it'll be in the Between Bets article that should come out tomorrow. You can read over on the site that Toyota's really dominated. Chevrolet, I think, has only won, I think it was like 2 of the last 11 races here or something, or twice in the last whatever many years. Not often is the point. So you mentioned about first-time winners not really happening here. Almost happened in 2019. We almost had my guy Alex Bowman pull out a W in the spring race at Kansas. Didn't work out. Brad Keselowski got the win there.
Yes. Yep. We have Cody asking in the chat. This is the hot topic on the NASCAR betting preview show. Pen and paper notes or computer. Phil has like a full tank with Phil. He has like a whole manila folder with like 2 years worth of documents of all his betting notes. Elliot, are you you're a pen and paper guy too, aren't you? You had your little pen and paper last week at my house.
Yeah, so you know what's funny is I saw this tweet earlier as I was writing out my bets. Normally I take a piece of scrap paper while I'm doing nothing at work, throw down my bets there. But then I realized this is getting a little messy. Maybe I should type this out. So this week I've got the printed out notepad font for my notes this week. So it is still pen and paper, but I've got a little neater here. I've got the screen up for the tiers. I don't have a double monitor like a lot of people. I've got the show sheet on my phone. I've got the iPad over here with iFantasy Race. I don't really have room for the extra on-screen stuff. So it is technically pen and paper, but I think I'm going to do it like this from now on. Write it out, type it out so I can read it and not look like an idiot more than I normally do on the show.
What about you, Rod? You old schooling out here?
If you tried to read my handwriting, then you would be frustrated. I know, and I write it, and I still don't know sometimes what I'm writing. I don't have coherent thoughts most of the time, so I have to have it on screen. And Elliot, I've got like 4 different screens in front of me too. So I've got, this screen over here that's got a bunch of stuff over here. I got my laptop sitting here. I've got my main screen right here. So like, yeah, but even still, like it's because I'll forget it. Like I'll write it down and I'll leave it someplace. Like I'll leave it on a bus, or I don't ride buses, but if I did, I'd leave it on a bus. But yeah, I'd have to have it where I can get it my phone, or I can get on my wherever I'm at.
Yeah. Looks like we have Nick saying I use his, or he's using his phone app. Bob, Bob gave me all his information. Bob has like 50 fucking pages he prints out every single week. Bob's into the thick of it. We appreciate him for sure. Charles saying I saw Phil bust out his notes last night and laughed so hard. Yeah, it was a good one. Got called out on the spot and he had it. Let's round this out with some Asterisk Mark drivers of the week. This is presented by our partner at iFantasyRace.com. If you guys haven't checked out iFantasyRace.com, please go over and do so. He has a lot of great data. A lot of it you can access for free. You can also register to get an account over there. It's worth every single penny. All right, we're talking about some fun drivers this week that we don't talk about much with the Asterisk Mark drivers of the week. Harrison Burton. Last fall, Harrison Burton finished 35th, but you can get an asterisk mark out of that finish shortly after the restart in the final stage. Young Burton was running 21st, had a flat tire, got into the wall hard, broke his toe link. But performance-wise, Ryan over iFantasy Race grades Burton right in that 20th place range. So, hey, we might need to be ranking Harrison Burton this week, Elliot. It might be fucking happening. HB, baby. Little HB.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see there. And, Harrison Burton definitely not going to win the race this week. Maybe worth ranking. Another thing that I saw perusing the Kansas stats that I just thought of is kind of like Dover. It's not one of those tracks where you see surprise winners, So being real juicy in the odds makes a lot of sense because it's going to be one of those favorites. The only guy that surprised me looking at the history of Kansas back to 2001, the only surprise winner, Joe Nemechek's final win was in 2004 in the 0-1 U.S. Army car. But other than that, pretty chalky throughout the history of the racetrack.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm seeing
we got Rod up here. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Old Joe, baby.
What was that called? Not MBM, but was it MBM? I don't remember what the team was called. The 36 was Boris said, and
It's a Pontiac, that's for sure.
Yeah, what the hell was that team called? We'll come up with it by the end of the night.
All right, guys. Well, we got some questions rolling in, so let's get to the bets here in Parking Garage Props.
Yeah, so we have already talked a little bit about the impressions of the books this week.
Yeah.
Real juicy, real hard to find. Any further notes you guys have on these?
Nope. Appreciate them putting them out at a decent time this week. That was cool. I'm seeing more of these mainstream books get more invested with the truck series this week. Saw a lot of stuff on even FanDuel this week, which I usually don't see truck odds over there. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, no, nothing really for me that stuck out this week, Rod, other than you got to get creative.
I mean, I'll give him a slap on the ass for getting it done, and then we'll send them on their way. But yeah, and you know what? They're continuing to give us some fun markets too. So I like that. Continue to do that and continue to get creative with these because I like the average speed. I like the drivers to lead a lap. I like those types of markets because those are a lot more fun too sometimes to break down than a top 10. So give us top 10s too, by the way.
Yes, please. All right, let's get into the outrights here. Rod, I'm going to throw it over to you, man. Where are we going with your outright card?
I kind of chickened out. Instead of just taking one, like I literally just took Toyota to be the winning manufacturer. I mean, you said it on the outset when you were breaking it down. They are 4 of the last 4 in it. They are 5 of the last 6. They are 8 of the last 10 that they have won here on this track. So if you're telling me that 80% of the time something's going to happen, like if somebody's going to punch me 8 out of 10 times, I'm still moving every single time because it's going to happen. I'm not going to say, well, this is one of the times where they're not going to do it. No, I'm going to literally try to evade your punch. So I took Toyota the whole thing. They're minus 110. But I did say that because this 45 car has been just bonkers on this track between Wallace, between Reddick, between Kurt Busch, like, why not go Tyler Reddick at plus 650? That's actually a pretty decent number for a car that's been in victory lane for 3 of the last several ones. What is it? 3 of the last 4. The 45 car has been in victory lane. So again, if you punch me 3 out of 4 times, I'm going to keep moving. So I'll take Reddick at plus 650.
I don't mind the call either. And Toyota to win too. I did just find it even at ESPN before we went live. So I think like anything from like minus 110 and up, I'm fine with taking that for Toyota, man. Like, I think that's a good call, Rod, because like you're getting a bunch of fucking bullets in the chamber with this bet. Like I realistically think if it's not Toyota, who wins this race? Kyle Larson, maybe like a William Byron, maybe a Chase or a Bowman, maybe. And like outside of those guys, it's like you're throwing a Hail Mary with like a Brad or a Joey or a Blaney. Like Elliot, to me, the Toyota makes sense here, even though it is juiced down to even.
Yeah, Toyota makes sense. I think I saw that earlier at like plus 105, and even I thought that was ridiculous. I should have hopped on that number.
Yeah.
When I saw it, because I saw it as low as 106 and then even down to 110. I think that's blasphemy. I never want to take a manufacturer drinking juice on it. Chevrolet, I found it plus 135 on Bet Rivers. And if you want to take that Ford Hail Mary, I saw it as high as plus 700 on Caesars. Again, I don't like it. I think Logano might be one of the only Fords that has a chance of winning. And he's run pretty crummy this season in general. But otherwise, my outright board is all Toyotas. Martin Truex at plus 800. Yep. We got Ty Gibbs and Bubba Wallace both at plus 1,500 over on DraftKings. So I'm trying not to get super juicy because I think they all have the talent to win here. That's a hell of a lot better than a Denny Hamlin at plus like 400 or whatever he was at, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I wish the number was a little bit longer on Ty. Like, I kind of wanted to get invested in Ty, but I just couldn't quite.
Looking at the odds this week, that makes sense though. He's a Toyota. He's a fast Toyota. Even at plus 1,500, I feel like is a really good number this week.
Bob, he likes the 42 this week for a little guy. He rolled in the trucks. Yeah, and hey, you just shouted out some Nemechek love, or wrong Nemechek, but
he's not the only one who's got a little bit of 42 love this week, honestly.
Okay, all right, yeah. I'm with you though on MTJ. I got him at 8-1 over at ESPN. Started 4th in this race last year, led 79 laps, finished 7th in the fall. Remember, he started 3rd, so. Like, he started 3rd and 4th last year at this track. So this number's not going to be 8-1 but by the time it comes out on Sunday. It's not going to be. So if you want Truex, now's the time to get invested. But we don't really have data from the fall because like 3 laps in, he had the loose wheel. He hits the wall, end of the day. But still going to be leading laps, finished top 6 in stage 1 the last 3 times he actually got to race here. Still very high up in the next gen total speed rankings at this track and at intermediate tracks as well. So I do like Martin Truex there as well. And I should have bet it last week and I didn't. So I'm going Denny Hamlin plus 450. I know it's chalky as fuck. I know that I'm not an original person for saying this. But I'm also doing it with that top 5 insurance over at Bet Rivers. Just if he doesn't win, I get the bet back if I need the top 5. And I really liked what Denny said in the post-race press conference that we sat in there for, Elliot. Like, he and Chris Gabehart are just kind of firing on all cylinders right now. The pit crew seems better than ever. They're ripping it up. This team just seems more connected and more gelling. And, like, let's be honest, if anyone knows how 23XI's probably been pulling it off the last 3 races we've been here, it's probably their owner, Denny Hamlin, who can take something from it. 5 straight top 5s here, won this race, and was leading with 8 to go in the fall. So arguably could have swept Kansas last season, number 2 in the Kansas Next Gen Total Speed Rankings. Hasn't been as dominant at the high speed intermediate tracks this season, but still number 2 in that track fashion since 2023. So everything saying go for Denny Hamlin here. Really liking what he's doing here. So yeah, I'll fire up Hamlin.
Yeah, I mean, Denny's never lost a race here in the Next Gen. He won last spring and then 3 with 23XI. And a confident guy. He not only said the stuff you said, Seth, he said he's looking forward to this next stretch here, that it's good for him, good for his race team. If you got a team that's firing on all cylinders and a guy as confident as Denny Hamlin is, definitely, we don't love a plus 450 outright. This week, plus 450 for a guy like Hamlin, honestly, kind of good value.
You might be able to wait like that. I just got down on it because
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to have it in my back pocket this week. So you might be able to wait. You could maybe live bet that, something to keep in mind there. I do want to throw one more outright out there if that's okay with you guys, and it's just a little bit of a sprinkle of an outright, 0.3 of a unit. I'm much heavier on the top 10 for this guy, plus 175 over at Caesars. And I'm doing it. I'm getting back in the ring. I haven't bet him outright all season. Brad Keselowski. I think Brad Keselowski, I got him at 50-1 at FanDuel. And why I specifically bet this at FanDuel, and a couple things to note with this. One, if it gets rained out, I'm probably going to, they're going to refund this, and I'm not going to get this just because of how their house rules work. However, FanDuel's also the best at giving you cash out options. Remember, Elliot, how earlier in the season I put a outright on Eric Jones to win the championship, was hoping I could get like a cash out. And they want to give it to me. They gave it to me today. I took the cash out.
Okay.
I got my money back for Eric Jones championship. Didn't catch him sleeping. But I'm thinking maybe with Brad being a guy who we just saw at Texas, who can mix up strategies and potentially put himself out front, he could be leading this race at some point, and you could get, back some of your money if you have a 50-1 out on them. Second at Texas, 13th at Las Vegas. And when you look at these comp tracks, these high-speed intermediates from last year, 6 out of the 10 races, he was inside the top 10. That's better than the implied odds at plus 175 to me. What's he done at Kansas lately? 6 in the total speed rankings from the fall, was running 4th before that late caution with 8 to go, ran 94% of the laps inside the top 15. That's 5th, had the 5th best driver rating. I like Brad Keselowski a lot this week. And again, just a little sprinkle on the outright, but I'm going hard on Rod, when you saw plus 175, were you surprised by that number at all?
A little bit, only because for me, Brad Keselowski he's been running well this year, right? He's been running very well as far as what we would think about it. But I mean, again, there's still that level of, but how well, and is it consistent, and can we count on that to be the thing? We know that Keselowski's running in the top 10 a lot. He's running close to Buescher all the time, but yeah, I mean, the plus 175 makes sense for a top 10 because the consistency is sort of like, are we there or are we not with Brad Keselowski?
And he'll definitely be looking to rebound as well after, just a horrible day out there in Delaware. Looks like we got Dee in the chat saying happy belated birthday, Seth. Thank you, Dee. I appreciate it. It was a great day yesterday. Appreciate all the love from the IBT family and staff. Saying also, hello, boys. Good to see you. Thanks so much for tuning in, Dee. Bob saying 43, 23, and 11 could be top 3. Hey, throw a little something on that. Maybe it's Kentucky Derby weekend. Charles saying, is anyone still worried about weather affecting the races this weekend? And then Bob saying the weather is getting better. So, I mean, we can worry a little bit, Elliot, but there's really nothing we can do other than be aware of it. Maybe bet Martin Truex a little bit heavier going into Monday for the Monday Martin, and then just being aware of those house rules as well. Like at FanDuel, if it gets canceled, hey, you're probably going to be shopping around again.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the weather this week, but yeah, if we do get a rain out, definitely bet Monday Truex Jr.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to some placement props here. Rod, I want to fire it over your way, man. Is there anything you found in such a juiced world over there in top 10s, top 5s, or top Chevy or anything like that?
So, I mean, as we were talking about Toyota being plus money as the winning manufacturer, I found Hamlin as a top 3 on Bet365 at plus 120. So that's plus money for Denny Hamlin, who we think is going to get an outright to get a top 3. Again, when we live in the world of NASCAR where we're used to gigantic numbers, plus 120 may not sound like a gift, but that is a gift, ladies and gentlemen, for a guy that has done this more often than not, right? He's won here. He's finished top 2 in almost every single chance that he's gotten. Denny Hamlin is the guy. And just like you had said, Seth, he's chalky this week to win. He's the chalkiest to win. So if you're still going to give me plus money for him to be able to actually finish in the top 3, which he has done, by the way, in 3 of his last 3 outings on this. Second in 2022 in the fall. He won in the spring, and then he was second in the fall of last year. Before that, a 4th place and a 5th place finish in both 2021 races. So, I mean, he's still swimming right around that top 3 area. And like I said, plus 120 for a top 3. If you can still find it out there,
Yeah.
go grab that because that's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
I've been waffling back and forth whether I want to. I have a free bet right now, and I've been waffling back and forth whether I want to use that on a minus 134 top 5 or if I take that plus money top 3. So definitely been going back and forth between it, Rod. So I like the shout out there. Elliot, anything for you here in placement props?
Yeah. So do you guys want the crazy stuff first? Or do you want the logical stuff first? Because I got a bit of both.
Whatever you feel like, brother.
All right, so we'll go logical first. Some numbers I saw out there. Chase Elliott for a top 5 at plus 150. He won Texas. Again, I'm confident enough in him to think that he can go out there and win. Being able to get a Tyler Reddick top 5 at even money at plus 100 on Bet Rivers, I like that too. Alex Bowman at even money for a top 10. Of course, we've got the whole Bowman deal, but his Kansas numbers are good. He's been top 10 in each of his last 3 starts here, and again, nearly won it in 2019 before he was able to lock down his first win. And Noah Gragson plus 300 for a top 10. That's starting to teeter into the crazy a little bit, maybe. But I've definitely undervalued him quite a bit this year. And good runs at these sort of tracks. Good run at Dover last week. I kind of don't hate it.
Okay. Yeah. I would like Gragson. Like maybe if I could get like a 5-1, I think maybe like like they're starting to catch up a little bit. And but I don't hate the call out. What one other placement I would like to throw out as well, if that's okay, is Kyle Larson top Chevy. Most places I've been seeing this. Again, this is super chalky bet, but I've been seeing like plus 120, plus 110 a lot of places. He's plus 150 over at DraftKings for this. Finishes at Kansas in the next gen era 4-2-8-2. So he's been up there. He's been the top Chevy half the time in those races. The only time he wasn't was one of the only times he wasn't was last year in the fall when Eric Jones ended up passing him after Denny put him in the wall. So I really like what Larson's been doing at the high-speed intermediates. Number 1, the total speed rankings at that track since 2023. Dominated Las Vegas. Was fucking running away with it at Texas before he had the loose wheels. So if anyone can finish as the top Chevy, I think it's Larson. And like, I'm not really afraid of anyone else in that camp this weekend to beat him. Are you guys like who do you think could beat him? Byron?
It'd be his own teammate. I mean, in my opinion, that'd be it. Because Ross Chastain, somebody I really wanted to kind of target this week, and I couldn't find a way because he hasn't been producing lately. So there's nothing. Yeah. Couldn't find a good avenue to get in on Ross Chastain. So it's got to be one of his teammates at this point, right?
Yes. Absolutely agreed with you there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to a couple of the chats here, answer a couple questions that I'm seeing come through. The first one is from Stan. He's saying he hit Wallace over Elliott, Bell, and Truex at 4-1 on FanDuel. He has won this group in 2 of the 4 races here. He's going to be fast. Can he stay out of trouble? Do you like this number, 4-1? Heavy hitters.
That's part of the problem. And I'll spoil it. Bubba Wallace is one of the guys I wrote about in my between bets. Because it's a super juicy week, I went with a few guys that are longer shots and that Kansas might be one of their last chances to win in the regular season. Again, crazy we're saying that now. Bubba Wallace was one of those guys. And just the consistency. He's had the good runs, had a few good finishes, but then each of the last 2 weeks has been caught up in trouble. But, Talladega was Talladega, and then he only got in trouble at Dover because he got knocked back on pit cycles, just the same as William Byron getting caught up in that crash. So they've been running really well. It's just staying out of, honestly, the good thing is it's been other people's messes. It's not necessarily been his mess. So I've got faith in the 23 this week for sure.
Yeah, I don't hate the number. Truex is the one that scares me there the most. I probably would be a no bet there. Rod, what do you think about this question from Charles here, not seeing the odds? Thoughts on group winner between the 1, 54, 12, and 48? Do you have an initial lean without seeing numbers?
I would probably have to give this to I know that Elliot's got his purple glass.
Here's my answer.
That would probably be mine too, because again, Blaney, if you look at the stats for Blaney on this track, not really good. And then Chastain, like I said, he hasn't been producing this season, and Ty just not giving me the warm and fuzzies. So if we're talking about Hendrick Motorsports being good this week and all 4 cars being competitive, I'm going to have to say the 48 out of that group.
Yeah, I can't blame you. I think I'm a little higher on Tibbs or Ty Gibbs than consensus this week, but those would be either one of them. I wouldn't mind, depending what odds you're getting there, Charles. I wouldn't mind maybe sprinkling a little bit on both and hedging yourself with Gibbs potentially. But I like to call out there from Rod. Anything else in placement props that we haven't touched on, guys?
Yeah, so here's my crazy ones. This one, maybe not as crazy because we've seen it recently. You can get Carson Hocevar for a top 10 at plus 600. He's shown that he's been able to outrun the pace of those cars, and he's shown he can take advantage of fuckery. There was a little bit of that Texas fuckery. 77 ends up getting the top 10. And then Legacy Motor Club, because they're Toyota now, and Toyota is so damn fast here, there weren't really numbers out on the 43 because we still weren't certain if it was going to be Jones or Heim. So we'll have to take a look at those numbers. But what I found, the best odds for them were at ESPN Bet.
I will say that it's Heim. Sorry, it
is Heim, but I mean earlier there weren't odds out. So So now whatever Heim's number is, I would look into it. I saw Jimmy Johnson at plus 900. I don't love that because again it's Jimmy. But if you're going to take it at the Toyota, if he can fall ass backwards into Toyota speed, I don't like it either. But I had to mention it. But I'm much higher.
You didn't though. There's nothing in your contract that says we're actually going to put a new clause that we're not even going to talk about Jimmy Johnson anymore.
All right. Well, I think this is the last of his couple of consecutive races, and then we probably won't see him for a while. But John Hunter Nemechek at top 10 at plus 1,200 on ESPN Bet. And again, it's been an inconsistent year. Legacy's still working through some of the kinks, but Toyota Speed and JHN being somewhat decent at places like this, that big of a number in a week that's this fucking chalky, you got to consider it with the Toyota Speed here. You got to consider it.
I can't. I just JHN has just done. He was so good early. Man. He's just been. Yeah. I don't know.
Well then, all right. Whatever the number is on Heim, whether it's, hopefully it's above a plus 500. Maybe they have enough faith in Heim's run and his talent that it goes under that. But anything above plus 500 for a top 10 on Heim, I'm smashing it.
Okay. Matchups and groups, Rod. Anything from you there?
So I actually got one out on the show earlier. Go back and listen to the entire reasoning for this, but I like Childress over RFK. I know you were talking about Brad Keselowski doing a lot of good stuff, but listen, when you dig into this, right, Childress has actually been the team that has finished better than RFK in the last 3 or 4, and going back even this season, they've beat them in several instances. Now on this track in particular, it's been Austin Dillon that's been the better of the two. And in the last couple of races, it's been Austin Dillon that's better than any of the RFK cars. Austin Dillon actually quietly not too bad in this top 15 finishes. And I mean, this isn't going to be one where you're watching the top part of the ticker. This is where you're going to be paying attention to the middle part. You're going to be like, will you hurry up and scroll to the next set of drivers? So
right. Let me get that 21 through 30 to see where Austin Dillon is. Can
I see where Dillon's at and where Keselowski is? Because Buescher's not going to be factored into this either. He's got a not very good average finish on this track as well. So, I mean, crazy enough, it's been Austin Dillon. But even as bad as we've seen Kyle Busch be lately, it could still be Kyle Busch. So, again, this is one of those ones where you're going to have to kind of keep an eye on the bottom 2/3 of the ticker, but I still think that it's going to be Childress over RFK as a team. I got this at minus 110.
Yeah, I think Kyle Busch is going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting there. Austin Dillon, good at this track, but he's one of those guys that the "what have you done for me lately" has shoved him completely to the back. Average finish of 25.4 this year, only finished better than 16th place one time this year. And
it was Texas, though. It was Texas.
It was Texas. That is true. So proceed with caution for Austin Dillon. I don't hate that team matchup. The team matchup I picked out this week was Trackhouse at plus 120 over Penske. Again, we're unsure about Chastain. We're unsure about Daniel Suarez, but we're also very unsure about the Fords. So at plus money, Trackhouse over Penske. That was my pick of the week in terms of the team bet matchup.
Love it. We got Andrew in the chat saying, I'm going to bet the Toyotas, but DFS player in me is definitely going to be underweight on the chalk. Makes sense. Makes total sense there. I had nothing in matchups that I'd really like to share. The one that I found interesting, but I wasn't totally confident in, was Tyler Reddick minus 130 over Christopher Bell. I know a lot of people on the NASCAR betting preview show like that last night as well. Chris Bell is number one in the next gen total speed rankings here, though. That's the only thing that threw me off, but he hasn't had the finishes at Kansas that Reddick has. Let's talk a couple specials. I have a couple ones I want to throw out to you guys. Usually I do not like going for the pre-made parlays. They always fucking burn me, but
almost worked with the Truex boys last week.
I know. And I'm dipping back in this week. Give me Truex, Reddick, and Hamlin, all top 10 plus 140 at Caesars. We've talked Truex, we've talked Reddick, we've talked Hamlin. This to me just feels safer than most here. Tyler Reddick's the one guy who I usually don't like putting in any type of finishing position parlay or really position props in general, because even last week, Elliot, like he was a top 3 car early at Dover and just continued to slide back, and I think he finished 10th or 11th, like right kind of on that edge. But Reddick this year on the high speed intermediates, 4th at Texas, 2nd at Las Vegas. I just really like what he could do here, and factor that in with the consistency we've seen out of Hamlin and Truex. Like, unless they get in a wreck, I like this one. And then in honor of Kentucky Derby, I'm going with Quinella, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson plus 550. This means they can finish first and second in any order. I have about 0.2 of a unit plus 550 over at Caesars. Can the storyline continue? I'm hoping it can. And like, they did this last year. In this very race. They almost did it in the fall race too, if that caution didn't get thrown. So I think it's going to keep coming, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate that. Those were the bets that always enticed me the most when I first started NASCAR betting. Like, oh, look at these big numbers. If these guys who are super good can finish well there, it's a good tribute bet. But yeah, nothing much there. A couple matchups I wanted to circle back on just to mention real quick. I have some qualifying matchups. I'm not going to talk about them. It's just they were interesting this week. You're looking for literally any way to make money. Dipping into qualifying has been my way to give it a shot this week. The 48 at plus 115 over the 1. Of course, Chastain, Meh, Bowman, sort of good. Denny Hamlin at even money over Larson. So if you like the 11 over the 5, may as well to go ahead and get your even money back there. And some more Noah Gragson love in Group C on Caesars. Him at plus 275 over Logano, Keselowski, and Chris Buescher. So I like the 10 card this week in terms of that little Ford group. Even number to win this week is at plus 190. Under 11.5 is at plus 110. Over 22.5 at plus 190. Again, just looking for the absolute fuckiest ways to make money this week, because that's what you have to do.
Rod, any special bets you got, whether that's numbers or anything we haven't touched on yet?
So I actually found the winning margin, right? The winning margin. I'm going to go the winning margin between 1 and 2 seconds. This is at plus 350. The last time they took this track in September, the margin of victory was 0.327. However, in the spring, it was 1.307. In the fall of 2022, it was exactly 1 second. And then in the spring of 2022, it was 1.413. So we are 3 of 4 in the next gen era of this race, finishing within 1 to 2 seconds as far as the first and second place cars. So kind of like that edge. And at 3.5 to 1, that's a funky little dip to get in there. Seth, are you muted?
Rod's always coming in here with some fucky bets, but I like him here. I like that one a lot. Elliot, anything to you before we quickly touch on the trucks?
No, yeah, and honestly, I want to make sure we have time for a giveaway. So unless we really love some truck bets this week, it may be better to move on to the tiers. But if you guys have something, I'll give you the chance to throw it out there.
I got one hammer I'd like to share, and that's it, if that's okay. It's kind of related to the cups, and if Rod has one truck bet that he likes the best too, I'd love to hear it. Zane Smith minus 105, top 5. This is my favorite play of the week, probably in either series. Talk about a guy who's got to be pumped as fuck to be back in the trucks after just like getting run over all day at Dover. Didn't have a chance. And like finally getting in some good equipment here in the truck series too. That number 91 equipment, from what I know, Rod, like McAnally has kind of been the class of the field. Christian Eckes driving the wheels off his car. Tyler Ankrum having a good run this season as well. They seem like the best car in the garage. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, they are the team right now that is setting themselves ahead of themselves. And look, for Zane Smith, he's appeared 3 times already this season. All 3 top 10 finishes for Zane. So yeah, he hasn't done badly in the truck series right now. I'm with you on that one.
And looking what he's done at Kansas, 4 straight top 5s in the truck series as well. So, and like you alluded to, Rod, 7th, 3rd, and 5th so far in those races he's appeared. And keep in mind, Rod, like Kyle Busch was in those races too. So like subtract 1 from all those, I think, in my opinion. So Elliot, am I crazy for loving some Zane Smith this week? I think even at 7 to 1, that might be a little bit of a value as well outright.
Yeah, that's funny you mention that because I don't have many truck bets on my sheet here. One of them I have Zane Smith top 3 plus 185.
Okay. Rod, you got a truck bet you like this week?
I have an outright that I love, and it's a crazy one, but it's at 14 to 1. At least I hope it is still there. If you guys haven't hammered down the line, that's Taylor Gray. as an outright, 14-1. He's finished 9th and 2nd on this track. And you know the tear he's been on. He has not finished outside of the top 10 except for Daytona. Other than that, it's all been top 10 finishes for Taylor Gray. He has been running around the front all year long. And I think he's going to continue to do so. And I mean, listen, at 14-1, I'll take a shot for him to win this race.
Love it. Love it. Elliot, do you have anything else other than that you'd like to throw out?
Not particularly. I don't hate that gray bet for sure, though. But the truck's real juicy, but real interesting, and probably will put on a good show this week.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be dipping my toes into some of the Eckes and the Heim chalk just for the hell of it. Derek saying truck bet Stort Friesen over Purdy bet 365. Stort Friesen, he's always frisky on these mile and a halves. It's kind of hard to trust him lately, but Derek's usually good on these truck matchups. So might be a good tale there for the listening audience. Crafton, top 5, 7-1 long shot of the week from your guy, Cody. Rod, I know you love some fucking Matt Crafton on the Reggie.
Yeah, I do love the old guy because I'm cheering for old guys. He's probably not old. I know I'm older than him.
No, Matt Crafton's up there for sure.
He is.
He's the elder statesman of the trucks nowadays.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
We got Derek saying scratch that. It's now -150 after our truck pod last night. Shifties Unite, Nick saying that's the Taylor Gray fan club, if I'm correct on that one.
That is correct. Yes, Shifties Unite.
All right, guys. Well, that'll about do it for bets. Elliot, what do you say we hop into some DFS tiers to round it out?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hop into our newly revamped tire tiers segment, I would call it. So, yeah, I mean, it is still the same tier maker and everything, still the same driver change breakdown. It's Corey Heim in the 43, Derek Kraus back in the 16, which I think guarantees leaves him off the board there.
Yeah.
You good, Seth?
I come on. I just fucking.
Derek Kraus. Okay. I thought
no. I can't stand it. Sorry. Just put someone fucking competitive in the car. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably off the board this week. Jimmy Johnson in the 84. He's probably off the board this week. Riley Herbst in the 15. That's kind of interesting.
That's a guy. Now Rick Ware Racing, at least fucking mixing it up a little bit after putting fucking Cody in the car.
A hell of a lot better than Cody Ware. And then Austin Hill over in the 33. Seth, I don't know if we want to do this kind of like we did last week and you have the last couple of weeks, rather than go through a full draft, kind of mix and match guys real quick based on who we've already discussed in the betting tiers, rather than kind of go through everybody again. I think the consensus number 1 and 2 this week have to be the 11 and the 5. How do we want to put them up here?
Yeah, I have no lean one way or the other. I think they have to be the 1 and the 2. They've just been so consistent from a DFS perspective. Rod, is there a lean you have, whether it's those two or Reddick, that you would put above the other this week for DFS?
I mean, no, you're right there. And then you're right. The 45 goes right there. I mean, all of those. And I mean, honestly, if you want to put all of JGR in tier A, maybe not Ty, but like, Truex.
Yeah.
I don't trust Bell either. Not Bell.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, leave Bell out of there. Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
I think the 19, probably the 24 in the A's as well.
Yep.
We know the 20 we want to put in the B's. We know the 54 we want in the B's. I would say the 48 is probably B worthy this week. The 9 probably A worthy, I would say.
I'd put the 48 in front of the 54.
Yeah, agreed.
And the 20 for that matter.
Yeah, I'd put the 54 above the 22, to be honest, because the 54 just been a little bit more consistent, man. Like Chris Bell is only averaging about 31 DraftKings points per race. Like he's kind of fucking killing you if you're trusting Chris Bell. So, and Chase Elliott, like I would almost argue a B, but with what he did at Texas, it's hard to downplay that.
I think rounding out the A's, Bubba Wallace may above either of the two Gibbs guys, or at the back of them.
Oh yeah,
both.
Yeah.
You could almost argue almost like a low A for Bubba Wallace. It's just his DFS performances haven't been huge as of lately. He's had negative points in back-to-back weeks, Rod, but huge day at Texas earlier this season. Huge day at a couple different intermediates as well, but he's had so many negatives. He's been killing you a couple times.
Yeah, if he keeps all the fenders on, the wheels on, and his head screwed on tight, I think he's in for a good run. It's just, whatever gremlins, is he feeding them people after midnight? I don't know, but
what's Booty Barker getting up to in these late nights? We gotta have eyes on him.
Eyes. Good call, Elliot. Eyes on fucking Booty Barker for sure.
What do we think about the Fords? Do we want any of them in the B, or like I'm thinking maybe the 12, 22, and 10 and the RFK probably all in the C's?
Yeah, I would say I would. Brad's my favorite Ford this week, as I touched on him, but I like him in the 22 probably the most, and Blaney right there too. So they're kind of all right there for me. Brad, I like the discount you're getting a little bit. 7,700 for Brad Keselowski. That's a hell of a deal, honestly, especially when you see like Blaney's 8,600. Like I'll save the $900 and take Brad. So Rod, any thoughts on differentiating some of the Fords here? And I do like the throw up of Gragson at 7,400 as well.
Yeah, and in fact, I personally could probably put Gragson right after Keselowski just because I feel like, well, we talked about, Cody knows too, because Cody always reminds me, Rod, Joey Logano's the hardest guy to predict in the entire garage. Yeah, I know, and that's why I don't try. And I was just talking about Blaney not really having a very good run on this track in particular. I mean, he's great at 1.5 miles, right? But for whatever reason, this track in particular seems to bite him in the butt. So I mean, I don't think he's going to even have a top 10 finish in him this week. So I wouldn't put him in, anything but the C's.
Chastain a B driver or probably mid C's?
Mid C.
Yeah, mid C. Yeah.
Do we think after all the Fords?
I'd say ahead of Busher. I don't love Busher this week. Kyle Busch, throw him maybe. Like you could maybe talk me into a B for Kyle Busch, or a high C, mid C at least. Like Kyle
these Penske boys.
Kyle Busch
better than I expected at Dover last week for sure.
Yeah, he showed some speed, man. So maybe he can unload quickly here. Rod, who is there anyone else in this B's or C's that we haven't hit on that you would rank up here?
No, I think we're getting into the point now where, I mean, would you put Briscoe in the low C? Or you want
that's a real tough one. I don't know, Seth.
I got to pull up the stats on Briscoe, honestly. I mean, he's been damn consistent. He doesn't let you down like any week. He never gets in the negative. Like last week was kind of the first bad week. He had 12 points, but before that it was 49, 38, 42, 39, 49. A lot of those were at tracks that Briscoe's really good at. So yeah, end of the season is fine, I think, for him. And leverage is the one key we got to remember in DFS, and Briscoe's going to have it because I don't think anyone's going to be lining up to play him out the door.
Briscoe's average finish here, 21.2 over the last few races since February 2012. But again, in DFS, if he starts toward the back and there he finishes inside of the top 20 or so, then you're happy.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Daniel Hemrick, I think, probably worthy of a D just because of how good the DFS performances have been. He's a guy with a gigantic differential. I don't want him at all in a betting sphere, and you're definitely not outright, not in your positional props. But I think DFS, he's got to be at least a D.
Well, yeah, and finally, like we're giving him the respect they deserve. He's like now like the fifth cheapest driver, so at least getting a little bit of respect. And remember, we threw out like he's good at qualifying here, so maybe he can have a little bit of speed. I'm just gonna read out Daniel Hemrick's points the last couple weeks, folks. 42, 50, 41, 24, 16. Like he's been fucking solid. So good shout out, Elliot. Thank you. Hem boys, baby. Boys.
It's time to give Hemrick some respect here. Some other guys for the D's. Austin Dillon, I guess his stats have been good enough. Do we want to go D or F for him?
Yeah, D. Yeah, D is fine for Dillon. Finishes included in the next gen era, 33 last year in the fall, so not great, but started 8th there, and then 10th, 14th, and 13th. Had 2 top 10s right before that as well. I don't know what it is about Kansas, but Dillon does run a little bit better here.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and he's the one that's been cashing the Childress over RFK bet more often than not, too. So,
right,
yeah. Suarez could probably be a D as well.
Yeah.
Hasn't had the best runs here, but does have 1 top 10 in the next gen era. So I could get behind Suarez. Cody in the chat saying hey, back off, Daniel Hemrick, Cody. That's where I draw the line, my friend. That's where I draw it.
He's lucky I didn't have my beep button when we usually beep out his name. That's taboo on our show.
Gotta love some Daniel Hemrick. Hey, Cat.
You want to do Harrison Burton? You love Harrison Burton. Does he get a love on the C on the D?
In the D, I think Burton's probably an F this week.
High F, baby.
High F. We'll put him at the top of the Fs. That's better than he normally is. Josh Berry, any 11 the SHR guys? 4 to 41.
Fuck Josh Berry. No, I was real high on Josh Berry. Chat with him a little bit. I was like, why'd you love Dover? I don't know, Jim. I just love it. That's not a great answer. And it wasn't a great run from me either. So fuck you, Josh Berry. You're on the shit list too, buddy. Love you. But yeah, can't go for Josh Berry. What about Jay Hay? What about Jay Hay? Do we like Jay Hay at all this week? Finishes here in the next gen era, 21st, 18th, 19th, 35th. I think him and Riley Herbst, Rod, like you and Cody talk about Herbst almost every weekend on your Xfinity show. He's really good at these mile and a halves, including Vegas.
Yeah, but again, I mean, he's in the Cup Series right now, and this is a little more difficult for these guys, especially when they're not starting in the greatest equipment. But look, Justin Haley's averaging 23.7 fantasy points per race at a $5,000 salary, just over 5,000. That's not bad. I mean, that's almost 5 times what you're getting, and he's never lost you points, which is exactly what we always talk about. Like as long as they're not losing you points, I like that. So, yeah, Cody mentioned it. Herbst SHR prep too. So if we're dumping all over the SHR guys, then I don't know that Herbst is going to do much better.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Legacy or Front Row Motorsports?
Wish I could like them.
I mean, they deserve to be ranked. John Hunter's been good here in the Truck Series. I think he deserves to be on the board, but Corey Heim last week, 28.1 points from him, had some differential. He'll probably qualify like shit again. So, maybe.
Yeah. The Front Row, I mean, they don't really speak to me. I kind of would be tempted to put Hocevar up there, but I think this is a week where we leave a lot of guys unranked just because Kansas is so damn chalky.
Yeah, Austin Cindric has gotten. I rewatched the races from last year. Austin Cindric had a wheel come off, got fucked. I don't want him on the board. I'm good on Barry too. I don't think you should be playing Barry at his price this week. Ricky Stenhouse, he had a good little run going last week and didn't really come out with it. But yeah.
Put him in the F. I think he deserves at least maybe.
Yeah. What I know we haven't liked him a lot for DFS for the Cup Series, but Zane Smith.
I don't know, bud.
31 fantasy points last week, despite running as shit as he did.
That's a shocker because I mean he ran like crap all day, and I guess his finish was better than I thought it was.
But he started 37th. Like he had literally no place to go but up. So a top 24 finish after you start 37th, that inflated that number.
Yeah. I don't know if I like ranking him. Seth.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I did. The D's were looking a little light. The F's were looking a little big. We'll give Harrison Burton a bump to a D.
You should rank Hocevar as well. I like Hocevar.
I think Hocevar probably good to back out the F's here. And yeah, these other guys. I mean, you got Cindric, Barry, LaJoy, Derek Kraus in 16. Don't touch him. Austin Hill in the 33. McDowell the 34. Gill in the 38. Again, just guys who are not expecting to run well here. Priest in the 41, and of course Jimmy Johnson for sure going to be left off the board this week.
Yeah, old Jim Jam. Sorry about that, Rodski. Sorry, brother.
Well, I'm gone. Thanks, guys. That was fun.
Also, Elliot, just for respect, Hocevar was 10th at Texas. I think he should at least maybe be the top of this tier or towards the top of it, at least ahead of the Legacy.
Even out the D's and the F's and make it look a little prettier for the article.
Yeah. Charles saying in the chat, Seth, we were so close on that Stenhouse top 10. It was interesting. I was telling Elliot, I said, remember someone I couldn't remember who said it in the chat, but I said someone in the chat was real high on the Stenhouse top 10. He was run top 10 all fucking day, Elliot, and just, Ricky Stenhouse got.
It wasn't even a Ricky Stenhouse. I think he just had a flat.
Yeah.
I didn't go back and watch, but
that was not his fault.
That was an unbelievable pickup, Charles, because I don't think he was on fucking anybody's radar. And he was running consistently top 10 all day before that happened.
Yeah.
I think it was on Cody's radar. Cody did have him on his radar.
Okay. Well, then good on Cody, too. And, shout out to the 47 team. Rumors had been saying maybe they're going to go away. Maybe the sponsorship's going to be pulled or whatever. Re-up there for another 3 years. That team's going to stick around. JTG Doherty is good for the sport, even if the J and TG kind of move away and it's Doherty and another gentleman in there as the owners. Good for Stenhouse, good for the 47 to stick around. We need some of those smaller teams in the sport that can go out there and win on their day. He'll always have that Daytona 500.
Agreed. He will. He absolutely will. Guys, what do you say? Should we round out the show with a little giveaway action, Elliot?
Yeah, I think it's about that time. We're going to pull out the first of our 3 giveaways for the week once we get the tiers off. All right. Yeah, here we can pull up the wheel here.
Yep.
Here's what we got. Today we're giving out the Bayley Currey number 44 truck from 2020.
Autograph.
Number 44 hardcore fish and game throwback, Cale Yarborough. It is autographed. All 3 of these diecasts we're giving away are autographed. This is one of 120 of these autographed trucks. So we'll give you a better look at it once we go ahead and pull who the winner is going to be.
Yes. Make sure you guys, we'll give everyone another minute here. If you don't see your name there in the side, let us know. I put a lot of our regular listeners in, a lot of other people who said they're subscribed to the channel. So I'll give you guys another minute. I know Cody's in the chat tonight, so I will add Cody to this as well. But yeah, let us know in the chat if you guys are subscribed, if you want to go after a little Bayley Currey action. What has Bayley Currey ever won a race in any of the top series? No.
I don't think so. He's been one of those guys who, a very respectable racer, getting in trucks and getting in cars whenever he can. A guy who's been around the block a few times. One of those type of guys that, again, you need in the sport. And probably one of those guys. There's so many of these guys here. Where, again, I'll just have a little talk here while we're waiting for people, any more last-minute entries. One of those guys we really need who, if you ever put them in good equipment, we have stories like a Bowman or like a Chastain or guys like that who toil around, staying in the series, being in kind of crummy cars. They get their break and they're able to stick with it. So shout out to some of these guys here. The other two that we're going to give away the next couple of weeks, we have a Ty Majeski, I believe, and we have a Tyler Reddick, Richard Childress racing car. That'll probably be that's probably the big ticket one. No offense to the truck series, but that's one of his Xfinity cars from RCR. And then another Nice truck that we'll give away next time.
Is that the Ty Majeski truck that had the asteroid hit? Because something always happens to Ty Majeski. Is that in one piece or is that a wrecked one?
As far as I know, it's in one piece over here in the box next to me. So.
All right. Well, Derek's saying in the chat, Stone subbed on the NASCAR betting preview show last night, so went ahead and threw Stone in there as well. We appreciate everyone getting involved with the giveaways. And if you guys don't win this week, just let us know you're subscribed, and we'll get you involved next week when we do another giveaway as well. Let's go ahead and do it, though, guys. Let's see who's going to be walking away with it. Anyone but Cody. Anyone but Cody.
Oh! All right.
Flag.
Congratulations, Adam.
All right, Adam. You're going to want to, if you can reach out to us on Twitter at IBT_media, you can follow me at between_SethFF, or I'll just pull up all our names on Twitter right now. And make sure you're contacting us. Give us your address so Elliot can get that shipped over to you. I'll try to track Adam down. I think he left a comment on one of our YouTube videos recently. But congrats, man. That's hopefully that adds to Adam's collection over there.
Yep, and we'll make sure to ship it out well from IBT's secondary headquarters here in Pittsburgh. Make sure it gets to you safely. Congratulations, Adam. And if you did not win tonight, we're giving away Diecast each of the next two shows as well. So be here for that.
Yes. Rod, take us home, man. Where can we best find and support you, whether it's in the NASCAR realm, the AFL realm? I know you're taking a lot of shrapnel out there on the internet for the AFL content, but we love you anyways, brother. We support you.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez while I still have it activated. And then, of course, catch me on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast with Cody and the F1 Gambling Podcast. There's the Miami Grand Prix tonight. I'm writing an article for Sportsbook Review on the Miami Grand Prix. And, we're all good. So a lot of fun to be had. So find all the stuff on Twitter and feel free to bash me because it seems to be the thing to do lately.
Hey, go anyone but Verstappen down there in Miami. It's something interesting here in the U.S. A couple nice cars out there. The RB cars, Ricardo and Sonoda, look real nice down there in Miami.
Yeah, there's some good liveries, I guess, as they say.
That's the European word for paint scheme, in case you never
livery.
Yeah, got to get out there for qualies down there in Miami this weekend, baby. It's going to be a good one. You guys see Steven Ross offered a shit ton of money for all his franchises, primarily because of the F1 race down there. So kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He could have been $10 billion or something. I think it was an insane amount. So, but guys, great program here. Make sure you're catching Rod and the NASCAR betting preview show, everything he's doing over there. Make sure you're following Elliot at eHicks39. Make sure you're following myself at between_SethFF. We got a lot of great content coming for you the rest of the week. And thanks everyone for the support, man. It was great getting some post-practice and qualifying content out there at Dover, and we're excited to do it again here in a couple months, Elliot.
Yeah, going to be really exciting to get to Pocono here in a few months. Seems like it's just right around the corner, but we've got a hell of a lot of good races here as we get into the summer stretch for the NASCAR Cup Series. Thanks for rolling down the back road with us tonight. Best of luck for your bets at Kansas, and we'll see you next time.